I am talking about the subject matter that I spent 5 years researching and then developed into a very small book that you can find anywhere you want nowadays. But really, the topic touches my heart because it is a deep question: is where do we live in the world of an obsessed world of AI? And I know that AI is a wonderful thing. I grew up in it in the 80s when I was doing my master's in artificial intelligence. And so I have a strange and yet powerful relationship with technology. And I also have a strange and powerful relationship with being human. And I've been human all my life. So I think I can express some ideas that might help you in your day to day as well as in your strategic thinking as we go forward. Um, First of all, I want to thank David and Alicia and Paul and Pradeep Kumar, especially, and also Sunil for all the support they gave me in sort of organizing this comfortable presentation to you. I dream of making it interactive, so please, I know it's difficult to communicate through this network of bits and bytes, but I think we'll break through if I stimulate your thinking and I inspire some of the thoughts that you may want to share. This is less of a presentation around what AI can do for you, but more about what you can do for AI. In other words, you can bring your human aspects into the marketplace and actually command artificial intelligence to pursue the goodness that you all do in Kaiser in the service of others. And I know I've been in healthcare for 15 to 20 years. I was the chief marketing at Cambia Health, and I was also the chief innovation for Cambia Health for a period of 15 years. I understand the field we're in and I love it. And I respect the art form of what you deliver to consumers and customers in their most challenging times. And believe me, I understand that deeply as I go through my health issues and share my work with the field of study that I'm putting together right now. With the next slide, I think you'll see a little bit of my background. I've drawn all my slides because I like to be not readable by the machine. So I'm enjoying my art form. I'm an artist as well. And so please excuse the pencil scratchings. But this is kind of a short form background that of what I bring to you in terms of experience. The middle picture is, of course, me when I was young, when I got my master's degree in computer science and was just starting my work at Intel here in Beaverton, Oregon. You can see the difference between that face and my face now, and you realize that innovation destroys hair and looks. So you need to know that innovation is not all good for your health. So my hair's gone and my looks have gone. So I want you to understand that what you see before you is an experienced person, an unattractive experienced person. But I hope that you still accept the. Some people are not seeing anything, so I hope that's that is still viewable. I hope the slides are viewable to you, if that is the case. Okay, good, it's viewable. Next slide, please. All right, we can see the slides. So, this is my obligatory slide that says AI is fantastic. I want you to know, I actually believe it. When I took over working at Intel in the 386 team, it was a 286 chip team, and I was working on Unix operating system thank you, Seth, when I was first involved with computer science. I really was excited about icons because icons weren't invented yet. And I was interested in cognitive databases. And I was excited. Those years, it felt like the internet was just moving from ARPANET to what it is now. I felt a certain sense of energy and excitement and thrills that I must tell you, in this aging form you see before you, I'm just as excited or more. I actually am very thrilled about the opportunity for all of you, you younger ones, and what you're going to do with this incredibly powerful technology in enabling the help and service of those that deeply need you in the care and service of health. I think of all the places where we could do best, it is healthcare where we can really command AI to serve community and be more human. So I must tell you, I'm thrilled about artificial intelligence. I'm thrilled about what it can do. So don't take my communication today to imply an anti-AI frame. I am pro-human and AI enablement. That's what I'm about. So I hope that you catch that lesson in the course of listening to me. I do believe now that you are capable of being the one person enterprise using facilities that are available to you in AI tools and techniques that could make you an engine of incredible growth if you rely and learn and experiment. And so coming into the field of AI, please don't be a victim of it. Please don't listen to it. Make it listen to you. And so I think this presentation will hopefully reach you in an inspired way and to convince you logically as well as emotionally that your inspiration, your insight is material and a machine can never reach, no matter how much a machine tries. Let me try and prove that to you with the next following slides. So if we can move to the next slide. The world seems to respond. In the last 5 years, I've been researching elements of response on AI. They're either AI obsessed, which is like crazy over AI, like everything is AI, or they are really afraid of AI, which is hold your ears and eyes and mouth and say, maybe this will pass too. I think there's a place in between. And that place in between is what I wrote about, researched about the last 5 years, and started to define in my own theory of mind what AI enable means. And to me, AI obsessed means you're overdoing it. You're telling everybody that if you don't get on board, you will be replaced by somebody who is AI obsessed. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I believe that human beings have a fundamental right for existence in this AI era, and that existence can never be reached by a machine, even if it tried. And I can explain why. I also believe that being AI afraid is not healthy, because then you're covering yourself with the fear, and fear never creates anything except anxiety. So being insight powered and AI enabled is the definition I'd like to share with you today. And I'd like to give you examples of what that looks like as we move to the next slide. So here's what obsession means to me. You follow everything that's convenient. You do what's easy. You give up on your first opinion. I've seen a lot of candidates of AI use it to get started. They say, oh, it gives me ideas. Now that's healthy to some who can't get started. But if you use it as a convenience forever and ever, you will lose the right of your first opinion. It is cognitively atrophying when the machine tells you what your opinion ought to be. You need to establish a criteria for your opinion to generate. The other is settling for good enough. Even with my knowledge base and my experience, I fall prey to thinking this way. It's almost seductive. So I want you to understand that cognitive atrophy is a technical term used by cognitive scientists in measuring the overuse of artificial intelligence. Now, let me give you some examples. The Swiss Business School Center for Corporate Foresight and Sustainability did an exam or a test on 600 people and did a A/B study to measure the AI usage and the proportionality of the reduced cognitive and critical thinking. And they saw exactly that the overuse of AI for these 600 candidates reduced their critical thinking capacity significantly, and that it mediates a relationship where AI tools actually substitute as a second brain to these delegates. Another study done at MIT Media Labs by my good friend Natalia Kosimar, she generated, with the help of 5 other researchers, 3 groups of students, and each group did something different. One group was brain only, writing a paper. The other group was LLM only, large language model only, writing a paper. And the third was search only, writing a paper. And they handed those papers to professors to review while they wrote the paper with EEG on their brain, as well as fMRI studies on their brain. You know where I'm going. The ones that were LLM only had limited firing in the connectivity of the different lobes in the brain. Very limited, almost non-existent. The LLM group produced papers that were tested blindly by the professors that had no essence to them, and they couldn't remember what they wrote, but they were excited that they wrote it and thought they were really smart. The search only is the middle group, the three little bears with the beds, I guess. And then the group that did write it with brain only wrote the most exciting papers, showed the most ownership according to the readers, and also had the largest amount of brain firing in their cognitive capacity. Those are just two examples. I have over 100 of them that show that cognitive atrophy could be a function that we need to guard against as we use AI, and the subtlety of AI in working with us, with knowing us so well, may actually replace us in our own mind while we think we are capacity. So please think that through. Now, I can't leave you without my theory of work that says here's how you solve it. I think you can solve it with my theory, which is on the next slide. It's real simple, and I don't want to make it very complicated. One, experiment. You know, in the old days, you could rely on the infrastructure you have to build what you have. And healthcare certainly is an infrastructure that works a certain way. As I go to a healthcare system, I know it repeats itself and scales itself very well, despite the environment we're all living in. But guess what? You need to experiment. You need to pursue it with some degree of enhanced thinking. Secondly, LLMs are your second opinion, not your first. All you have to do from a cognition point of view is write down on a piece of paper. Notice I say piece of paper, and use a pen if you can, or a pencil. Write down your thoughts before you instigate the machine for its own thinking. That will keep your cognitive capacity awake and alive. It doesn't take much to wake up your brain. That's the wonderful thing, because it is a muscle. And as you all know, use it or lose it. So the lack of usage of your cognitive capacity does reduce your cognitive function. And the third and most important is my contribution in the book, which is I believe that finding your ahas, the thing that you called insight, the thing that comes in the middle of the night, or walking your dog, or taking a shower, or having a drink with your friends, that you suddenly get this flood of excitement in your brain that says, you know what? I just thought of a different way to do this. That you need to create more moments of. And I believe those conditions are available to you. I believe you can do them. I think you can create the conditions in your office, in your life, in your own person, in your family, with your kids. You can do it, which is insight enhancing. Now, the technical definition, not the only one, but the one I chose from the Cognitive and Neuroscience of Insight, the book, is the following. Let me read it to you so you can really feel like I'm saying something sensible. Any sudden comprehension, realization, or problem solution that involves a reorganization of the elements of a person's mental representation of a stimulus, a situation, or an event to yield a non-obvious, non-dominant interpretation. Okay, I just call it the aha, if that's okay with you. But that's what the researchers trigger. And they've researched, many of them have researched the insight capacity, and they've analyzed it. And they found that the left part of the brain is filled with very coarse, very stacked neurons that have dendrites in them. And they like analytics. So when they say left-sided thinking, that's more analytic. The right side is broader neurons. They accept wider thought, and that's the one that your family members tell you it's embarrassing when you finally share it in a dining table, and you say, "Did you think about, a platypus and a horse and how they get together?" And if you start talking like that, that's more the right side of your brain. It's extending your thinking to places where usually it's not usually extended. What is interesting is the brain position where insight is registered in an fMRI EEG study is about a few inches above your right ear. That's where gamma band firing occurs in the non-obvious way when you get an insight. Now, in asking neuroscientists, is that where insight is sourced? Is that where it's coming from? They all say to me, no, that's where it's expressed. So the brain, I began to understand, is not the source. The brain is the filter. It is the register. It's the dashboard. So the brain registers in the top right-hand corner of your head, above the ear, that it has an insight. But what is really happening is the brain is tackling the mind, and the mind is your neural system, the back of your brain, the side of your brain, your neural environment, your body, the biology you bring from 5,000 years, and the essence of who you are that awakens when analytics are done. So there's a pre-processing period of analytics, and then suddenly something happens. Now, it happens when you're in a dream. That's what happens to most people. Guess what? Machines don't dream because they don't sleep. You dream because you actually sleep. You actually contemplate. You actually conform to a quiet self. You actually wake up your right side of your brain. Let me give you two examples of this before I belabor this slide too long. Do you know the word just do it? Everyone knows that phrase. Where did that come from? I met Dan Wyden, who is from Wyden and Kennedy before he passed away, and interviewed him on that very thing before I wrote this book. I asked him, how did it happen? How did you come up with the phrase, just do it? And he laughed, and we spent 2 hours talking about, by the way, it was just wonderful being with him in the presence of somebody who's insight enabled. It's quite amazing to be around someone like that. 2 hours went by, and I was still craving for more. He told me the story. He said that Nike gave him the contract. It was his first contract in the firm Wyden and Kennedy. They didn't even have an office. They had one floor in a building, and they didn't have a telephone. Telephones are those things that hang on walls for those of you who are younger, and they actually have cables attached to them. I don't think if you want to go to the museum, you can find them. But that was what he used to get a call from the head of Nike. And you know who that is, right? Phil Knight. Phil Knight calls him and says, you have the contract. You have to come in and give us our future branding. Give us what you think our positioning ought to be. So he then executes his team. He analyzes everything and says, we love athletes. We love athleticism. So let's come up with the phrase. Days and days go by and there's no phrase. There's no positioning. Nothing's happening. Dan is confused. Dan is shocked. Dan says, we can't make it. So he finally gives up the night before the presentation, goes to bed. In the middle of the night, he wakes up with the words, let's do it. That was a phrase that was done, that was delivered by a convict who was pulled out in Utah to be shot. He chose to be shot then hung. And in the process of him being covered by a shroud of a blanket before 4 guns were pointed to him, he said the words, let's do it. Now, of course, he didn't take the phrase. He said, just do it, because he didn't want to get sued. So he took that word from something that's so orthogonal, so out of the ordinary, and it became the phrase for the last, how many years? I don't even know. How does somebody get that? Machines don't get that. They cannot find that insight. Now, what he also did was he took that phrase and made it an entire philosophy for Nike and generated an entire infrastructure and scaffolding for everyone to hang on. That's what innovation is about, and that's what I believe we can do that machines can never reach. With that next slide, if we can show the next slide, hopefully there'll be other examples. So what does it mean? The status mindset is one where you preserve the current. The innovation mindset is one where you challenge the current. I'll keep going. History as guide? No, you want to make history. Top-down rules? You want to develop from inside you. Remove the immeasurable so you're very efficient? No, I want to embrace the intangibles because some of these intangibles actually define what the immeasurables can be. Investigation-led? Yeah, your boss will always say to you, go out and find the data. Fact over fiction. Tell me the facts. But when you're creating the future that no one has ever seen before, that has yet to be defined, you have to be inspiration-led. That's what my research tells me. And the other is make money. It's important to make money. But you and I know, and Kaiser, it's about finding meaning in the service you provide others. I believe in that deeply. So you can make money so that you can find meaning. Making money by itself is not why you're here. And I know that, and that's one of the reasons why I jumped at the invitation to serve you. So let's move from this mindset where you have both of them running in parallel. It's not like they both go away or one is replaced by the other. The machine will probably do the left side of your screen well. They'll do the preserve current because the machine is back annotating. It's looking at history. It is understanding it to its great combinatorial capacity. So don't mistake combination with comprehension. Comprehension is what's on the right side. You are that machine. You are the incredible machine that can reformulate comprehension and see something and see the future before it even forms and then embrace it and build to it. The status mindset is wonderful to keep the doors open, but the innovator's mindset is something necessary now, especially when the machines can do what's on the left pretty well. And I say the island that machine can never reach is the island I show on the right. Next slide. So these are examples of companies that have one thing in common. They all thought they were succeeding and they died. They all failed. But the minutes before they were failed, they all thought they were succeeding. And lives were lost in this process. 401ks were destroyed. It's because of the lack of leadership to understand that the best time to innovate and change is when you are succeeding. So please don't forget that insight gets you here to become a leader, but insight also gets you out to become the leader of the future. So if you miss a window, you hit a wall. That's what happens. So please don't miss this window of embracing AI, but not becoming AI, not having it embrace you to the point where you lose yourself in it. You don't need that. You're bigger than that. You can power yourself in transformation and become the insight engine that the machine can never reach. Next slide. So here's an example, Starbucks, right? Look at the way in which they're selling coffee to you at an expensive cost, screaming your name out with excitement, and then you're loving it. And you come there twice or three times a day to get your latte, whatever flat thing you want. I don't enjoy it, but I sat in there for 50 hours observing how people came in and how they were treated. It was incredible. It was a masterpiece. That's why it lasted all these years. It had a recipe. It has scaffolding. It has insight. That's how it made it. Now, in meeting Howard Schultz, I had a one chance meeting with him. I interviewed him. I said, what an amazing thing you did. Coffee, couches, and community all in one game. I thought, you've embraced the customer. And I remember he stared at me like I was a stalker he wanted to get rid of. And he said to me, Mohan, that's not what it is. He said, the real equity of what Starbucks is about is in the equity between the relationship between the barista and the customer. That's it. Everything we do is about increasing the equity between the barista and the customer. And that's what I learned in my experiments about healthcare. There is no healthcare. There is only the equity of the relationship between caregiver and care receiver and families. That's it. And if you know that insight, if you understand that insight, everything else becomes kind of in the way in some ways. So you have to point the magnet the right way so everything points towards the right way, where humans deal with humans to solve human conditions and make it happen. And technology and every other process is defined to make this safe for that relationship to occur. So it's funny, I'm relating Starbucks to Kaiser, but I truly believe that. I truly believe that the equity of the relationship is expressed at that point. The comfort, the care, the reliance, the repeatability, the scalability all comes from that relationship. So that's an example of insight. Let's go to the next slide to kind of tell you how it's derived. My theory of mind is that there are four sides to the mind. There is hindsight, which is look backwards, analyze. There is foresight, which is look forward, a few yards ahead of you. And then there's eyesight, which is look below your feet so you don't trip. But there's a hidden thing that us humans have called insight. And I have pounded on it in this conversation. The top three items of foresight, hindsight, and eyesight can be machine readable, and you can use the machine for the highest potential to give you the greatest scale to be 10 people when you're one person. But this act of generating insight, it's small teams with whiteboards and ice cream and pizza and maybe something healthy. That's what it takes. That insight generation. When I ran the innovation force at Cambia Health, and some Kaiser employees were part of my team back in the old days, I did that for 10 years. 10 years, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 4 hours, engaging ideas. That's all I did. We would get on the whiteboard, we'd sit on our beanbag chairs, which at my age, I can't get out of a chair anymore. But I would use humor, I would do dad jokes, I would buy ice cream, I would interrupt their thinking constantly and play on their mind, because I knew cognitively that if you focus too much, you become analytic. You have to become insightful, which is defocus to broader topics, and you will come up with ideas no one's ever been able to generate. We generated 10 companies, actually executed on 10 companies, 10 startups. But we generated over 20 companies or 30 companies in the period of 10 years. We could build business models, develop technology at a pace and speed that was as fast as an idea. To do that, I needed to enhance and enable the cognitive strategy of my team. So it's okay to have an AI strategy. It's okay to have a people strategy. Please also have a cognitive enhancement strategy. How do you make yourself cognitively enhanced? And insight, the number of ahas you have per day, is the measure of what it takes for you to be insight centered. And experiment with those insights. Write them down. So please think through this. But before you think through this, inspire yourself. Thinking gets in the way of inspiration. So please reduce your thinking a little bit and get to the inspiration, which I think would wonderfully change your life if you experiment with both analytics and inspired thinking. And I call it inspired thinking, but actually it's less thinking. It's more enabling your inner self, the inner innovator, to release and to come up with the brand new ideas that other people can never reach. And by the way, if you all think you're not capable of it, I think you are undernourishing the true potential of what is the gift given to you. I can take any one of you and I can create the conditions whereby greatness comes out. I believe in that. I have never believed in elitism. I believe that every one of us has the capacity given to us to be capable of this level of contribution. So with that, next slide, please. So here we go. We got all this heavy stuff on AI, which I think is wonderful and amazing. But obsessive use of it can be hazardous for your own originality. So balance it out. Your mind matters. Get your own personal recipe in terms of how you want to build, how you want to be a maker, how you want to be an experimenter. Bring your experience and your ahas, document them. Do not lose yourself in a prompt, because prompt and pay is not enough. Pay and prompt is not enough. You're not getting smarter. You will become smarter if you prompt yourself and be more insight powered and AI enabled in the truest sense. Now, more details are in the book, and there's so much research that I can defend my position with. And mine is only a theory today. There are no longitudinal studies yet on atrophy, but it's showing signs that it exists. And it's significant enough because the substrate to your mind has already been created for you and your children and your generations with the iPhone. So you're stuck with that. And now you're relying on the phone for most things. So now they're pumping in the capacity for it to think for you. What does that do? Right. And so I'm dying to talk more about these topics, but I want to hold back time so that you can have more questions than me have false answers to what I think your questions are. The next slide is a slide I ask you a favor on. Here's an example. Russell Wong came to the US in 1983 or so, or 82. He came to the University of Oregon. I was already there doing my master's. He was doing his bachelor's. His parents asked me from Singapore, where I was born and raised, to coach him. Fast forward, Russell Wong is a photographer. He's a finance major who's a photographer. Now he has 18 time covers. He was a producer, one of the guys who produced Crazy Rich Asians. He is Michelle Yeoh's photographer. He was originally Sebastian Coe, the runner. Some of you are old enough to remember him at Nike. He started taking photographs of the Nike runners. That's what made him great. Now look at him, because he found insight, he automated it, but he didn't rely on the technology of the camera and the stage. He was not interested in that. In fact, if you ask him what makes a great photographer, he'll say a photographer is insightful photographer with a bad camera. He doesn't care about tech. He's really about what he can do. And people like the stars you see on this show, on this screen here, all think him to be an immaculate genius. And in asking what he made happen, he can't describe it. I can, because in deconstructing what he's done, it's very much what I'm talking about. Next slide. Professor, late professor. At 65, he leaves Kellogg School of Management, calls me and says, give me $25,000. I'm going to start a university in India, and it's going to be the leading university in India by the time we do 10 years. I'm going to make it LEED certified. I'm going to give jobs to all of the candidates. It's going to be 18 months MBA, and they're all going to learn Chinese because I think they want to be dominant in the world. I thought he was joking. 10 years later, he builds that university. Top 9th university in business school, 100% job qualification. He is the chairman of a new university. You don't hear university started. Most of the universities are 100 years old. He did it. How? Because he built his own scaffolding. He had insight. He used technology to really enable the work. I can give you example after example. Most recently, my last company, when I was at Cambia Health, there was a pharmacist who stood next to me when we were doing hackathon. He came up with an idea. He said, you know what? In the back rooms, we're analyzing all the drugs. We're grading them, A, B, C, and D, for efficacy. And all our pharmacists have a particular methodology for seeing whether the side effects of the drugs have the least impact to patients. I think we can build a product for that. I let him be the CEO. He ran it for 5 years. He built it to a company. It's called MedSavvy. How did that happen? He was a pharmacist, became a CEO, and now he's running his own group in a large institution, reminding me constantly that it was that moment where his brain actually changed from follower to leader. And I think every one of you can be that kind of person and serve Kaiser with another scale. Let's move on to the next slide. If you have any further interest in communicating with me, realize I am a nutrition label for AI. I am not a warning label. I'm trying to say be insight powered and be unreachable to the machine by thinking your way through this. Example is I did this on Chat GPT, and look what they created. It spelled obsessive wrong. It spelled atrophy wrong. And I kept telling it spelled it wrong, but it couldn't solve itself. Let's move to the next slide. Please link into me if you want. Tell me that you were in this room. So I only link into people I've met before. So please tell me, and you can follow the journey of this book and the movement I've created that allows people to feel their true innovative self in the course of a great era, the best era in our times. You can also use this QR code to give me feedback directly to me at Talkadot. Just send me your message and tell me how you thought this presentation went so I can learn from you and can enjoy your company as well. So with that, I will leave it to the organizers to ask questions or hopefully have enough time to get your thoughts along the way. I hope to serve you well. It is my intent.
Yeah, thank you, Mohan, for that wonderful presentation. I hope everyone's learned a lot, and I hope we can embrace and utilize AI, but not be overtaken by it, for sure. Paul, as you are helping out with the Q&A, feel free to pick people's questions so that Mohan can answer.
All right. Thank
Please,
you.
please, please. I love it.
All right. When feel free to raise your hand. I can call on you. I'll go through a couple questions in the meeting chat first, and we'll start getting through it. So, obviously, you're an innovator. Some of us are more operational. How can we learn innovation quickly?
When you were a kid, um, what did you do? When you were in school or at home, what did you do? You always drew something. It was just habitual. You wanted to create. You would draw crazy pictures, and frankly, your parents, if you have parents now, I might have lost my parents, but they always kept my drawings. So yeah, exactly. Someone said play, imagine. That's right. We lost that. You know what I love watching every time I see families hang out? The little girls always skip. Have you noticed girls always skip, right? And that skipping we don't do anymore because it's embarrassing. Well, you hang out with me, you're gonna skip. You're gonna dance, you're gonna sing, you're going to enjoy the part of you that you've lost. And you lost it because of, we can all thank school for that, because school was designed to control your ability to function in a factory. So you're all doing well. Well done, right? Someone just said human-centered design. Exactly. The elements that come into design, the elements of painting, drawing, sharing, laughing. When you hear a great joke, a funny, really good joke, your entire body resonates. That's the same biological reaction that you have when you see a great idea. So get to that. Laugh, be happy, enjoy your life. I know it's tough. I'm going through serious problems myself right now. But still, despite all that, don't give up your creativity. Don't give up your insight. A lot of people have written books on creativity, and my good friend wrote a book, The Creative Equation. I think it's fantastic. But I define insight slightly different. It's not all the ability to create, it's the ability to take that creativity and produce a scaffolding where others can climb. It's building stuff in the minds of other people so they create something. Sorry, I don't want to talk too much. I want to hear your questions.
Yeah, no problem. That was good. Along the same lines, how do I talk to my kids about this? My concern is about the younger generation offloading to the machines.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if I had the answer to that one, I'd be in CNN today, right? I don't have the answer, but I have some form of a dent in the world uh, that is currently going the wrong way, in my opinion. I think our kids are being not latchkey kids; they're becoming latch computer kids, right? They're being locked into the computer. And I know I have a daughter who's graduated from MIT with a master's in computer science, and now she's in Oxford doing a PhD. And she still relies on the machine for guidance, which is kind of like, come on. And so you see the next generation uh, communicating with the next generation is kind of scary right now. I think you really need to worry about them and not over worry, but frankly, there are families that are reading my book. Isn't that crazy? Families are reading my book. I have many families who are sharing the book with their younger generation and saying, "Don't listen to me, listen to him." And they're making it required discussion at the dining table. And that is my dream. My dream and my mission, if I may, is to get this conversation at the dining table. Because all the governance in the world in your company cannot replace the self governance you have in your life. You can know that. The board worries about ethics and compliance. But if you steal that yellow pad every week, they can't solve that problem. You can, right? Your ethical framework is a necessary part of making Kaiser successful. The same way your foundation on AI will make Kaiser cognitively advanced. So you start with your kids, talk to them, you engage them, you show them a videotape, you show them stories. Don't hesitate to share that you are changing because they watch you more than they listen to you. So start with you and your neighborhood change, as Gandhi would say. So my recommendation is that I'm doing the same. I'm in the same journey with you. I struggle the same way you do, but I think I'm more hopeful. I actually think that the younger generation, is more reactive to this than I thought. Most of the people buying this book are younger. It's quite interesting. I see an age differentiation. The younger ones are obviously looking at this saying, I need that. I need to understand what's going on. I don't want to be controlled. I feel like there's too much dependency and I want to bring myself out of it. So they're not saying it's bad. They're saying they want to bring themselves along with the advances in AI. And I think that makes them, they have agency, word is used, with respect to how they can command the machine while they command themselves.
All right. How do you differentiate between insight and inherent bias?
Oh, wow. Oh, you're getting me really challenged here. Bias is within all of us. Bias is in the machine as well. So the only way that I can equate a solution to that is to experiment with people you disagree with, is to understand that when you disagree, you can intellectually disagree, but there's still human to human interaction to solve together. And in a workplace, there are many people with many biases. And it's a very comfortable environment if you allow those biases to express itself and for you to equate it as an object within your work. Machines are biased. The LLMs are biased. So I would use techniques like triangulation, second source review, making sure, just like code checks, reassure your technical biases can be solved. But the ultimate bias is really the edge of a decision where you make a decision and the intentionality of that decision. I say, watch the intentionality of everybody around you. If the intentionality is pure, you can work with it. If it is not pure, be concerned. You should challenge that. Be concerned because you could be a weaponized response of that intentionality. I hope you never encounter that, but if you do, you got to call it out. Be brave to call it out.
I have, does your book cover the concepts you've described here regarding building insights?
Yes. Yeah, it took 5 years to write this thing. I tend to write a book once every 10 years because I don't want to be that recipe writer. Have you seen the recipe writers? It's like the 5 ways to do this. The top 10 ways. I mean, I love those books. They're great for airport reading, but they tell you the steps. I want you to be a master chef of your own meal that you offer the world. So I can give you the ingredients. I can't give you the recipe. I can give you examples of people who created recipes, but your recipe is unique to you. So I don't do the 5 ways. I do talk about the ingredients. So I talk about what is insight made up of. What are the elements of insight from the research I've done? And it's very simple. It's very, very simple. I think elegance is an example of how the complicated world can be divested, right? The world is not that complicated. It looks that way to kind of block people who don't have insight. But if you have insight, you can see through all that noise. So yes, I break down what is insight. I break down what scaffolding looks like. How does one build scaffolding? By the way, scaffolding looks like it's a physical thing. I'm talking about building scaffolding in your mind and in the minds of others. How do you build a structure that they can climb? Because a lot of people don't know how to start, and you need to help them. You need to serve humanity that way. Give them a structure they can follow. And it's going to break down. It's in quicksand anyway, but you got to keep trying. And I've done it over and over again, and I've succeeded many times. And that's why I put the lessons standing on the shoulders of all the people who helped me get here in the book. Yeah. It's not everything. I still have a few more books left in me, but follow me and I will help you as much as I can.
Incredible. I think we have time for one more. You say that we best avoid giving the machine the first opinion, might decay our thinking. Yes. Talk of examples of this. What should I do when I'm stuck with starting?
When you're stuck with starting, I've named it inconvenient learning. Do not give up. That's the thing that powers your cognition. It's the try and fail. When you were a kid, that's how it was. You struggled all the time. You got mad at yourself. You got mad at everybody. You kept trying, and then when you finally succeeded, something broke through. Inconvenient learning is the essence of cognitive capacity building. If not, the neurons don't connect. They don't fundamentally help you for the next learning. I am learning to serve you. I am learning to serve my daughter. I am building my structure so I can help her and every other young lady that I have ever met. I am designing my life so that there will be service to other people. And if you're doing that, going through hardship is part of the deal. So do not give up. Now, at some point when the answer arrives and you're tired, your brain's already tested all the venues of that conversation with yourself, then you can use the machine and that's fine. But I know people who date using apps where they take the profile of the guy and they put it into chat and then they ask chat, what should I talk to him about? And then they cut and paste. If your life is a copy paste like that, what happens when you finally meet the person for a first date? Well, I asked that question in my research. You know what they said? They don't talk. They're nervous. They're not themselves. So there's two people attending a first date and neither arriving. They haven't arrived yet. So then what happens in the end? One of them said to me, oh, I go into the bathroom and I check with chat after I got more data from the person. That is not how we should perform our lives. Insight comes from courage. And courage is not the opposite of fear. Courage comes from being inspired, where you're blind enough to try to fail. I don't believe courage is everybody's. I'm not courageous. I'm chicken. You know, I don't want to be courageous. I want to be inspired because I forget about what it means to be afraid. So get yourself inspired by inspiring yourself and realize that the machine is not something to worry about. Beat the machine. Learn everything there is there. Study it. Fail. It's okay. It's okay. It's actually, you're building your cognition, and your kids and your families will watch how you do it and they'll follow you. That's the only recipe I have so far. I hope it helps. You know, look, it's a theory. I can only do what I can do. My experience is given to you as best as I can.